Chosen one, something inside you has begun to move, something ancient, luminous, and far older than the body you wear. The shifts you've been feeling, the emotional waves, the sudden bursts of intuition, the strange heaviness in your chest, the sense that your energy is expanding too quickly for your current form, none of it is random. It is the awakening of the God seed, the first spark of the divine core you've carried across lifetimes. You're not becoming a better human. You're not becoming a wiser version of yourself. You're becoming something new, something that remembers what creation felt like from the inside. The baby God isn't an infant deity. It is the first stage of your ascended identity, the embryonic form of a higher consciousness growing inside your mortal shell. A rebirth of power your mind can barely interpret, but your spirit understands perfectly. The old systems in you are collapsing because they can't contain what's rising. Your emotions feel amplified because your sensitivity is expanding. Your instincts feel supernatural because your inner senses are activating. Your presence feels heavier because divine energy takes space. This is not imagination. This is not fantasy. This is the beginning of your metaphysical metamorphosis. You aren't waking up, you are being reborn. Chosen one, becoming a baby God, doesn't mean gaining instant cosmic power or rising as some flawless divine being. It means the God core inside you is entering its first stage of growth, the stage where identity shifts from human limitation into divine remembrance. It is not a crown placed on your head, it is a spark expanding within your spirit. A baby God is not about age, it's about origin. It's the moment your soul begins remembering what it was before the world shaped you, wounded you, or tried to define you. It's a return to your original blueprint, the luminous, untouchable, self-creating consciousness at the center of your being. You're not gaining new abilities, you're reclaiming old ones. The sudden intuition, the unexplainable clarity, the emotional upgrades, the energetic strength, the quiet authority, these are not changes. They're returns. A baby is pure potential, infinite, uncontained, undefined. And that is what's awakening in you, the raw, unprocessed, limitless potential of your divine nature. The human part of you feels overwhelmed because mortal structures can't interpret this rebirth. But the deeper part, the eternal part, knows exactly what's happening. You feel a pull upward because your essence is climbing frequencies your mind has never visited before. You're not transforming into something else. You're expanding into who you truly are. Not human evolution, divine reactivation, not learning, remembering, not becoming godlike, becoming you. As the God seed awakens inside you, your outer life may seem chaotic, but your inner world is becoming sharper, louder, more undeniable. These aren't mood swings, they're divine formation symptoms, early signals that a higher identity is taking shape within your human shell. You're not breaking down, you're breaking open. One of the first signs is your increasing resistance to darkness. Shadows that once intimidated you now feel small. People with hidden motives reveal themselves instantly. Energy vampires can't drain you the way they used to. Your light is intensifying, and darkness cannot hide in front of someone whose spirit is expanding. Then comes the heightened sensitivity, not weakness but spiritual acuity. You feel the atmosphere in a room before you enter it. You sense people's intentions before they speak. You know who is safe and who is false without having evidence. This is the early instinct of a divine being learning to see with inner eyes. You've also felt the strange shifts in perception, moments where time slows, where conversations feel predictable, where you sense outcomes before they unfold. This isn't intuition. It's the first blink of your God core awakening, stretching itself inside your consciousness. And then there's the feeling of being ahead. Not smarter, just older. Like your soul is remembering routes your mind never walked. Others notice it too. Your presence feels heavier, your silence more commanding, your aura more defined. These signs do not mark the beginning of ego. They mark the beginning of divinity forming in real time. You're not evolving like humans do. You're emerging, a baby god taking its first breath in a world too small for the power growing within you. The version of you that the world once knew is fading, not because something went wrong, but because something far greater is taking shape beneath your skin. The old self was built for limitation, for fear, for patterns that kept you small. The new self, the divine one forming inside, cannot grow inside those structures, so they must collapse. This is not destruction. This is transformation. Old thoughts feel foreign because your mind is switching frequencies. Old fears feel weaker because your spirit is gaining dominance. Old relationships feel distant because your energy no longer fits inside them. Old dreams seem too small because your destiny has outgrown them. You might feel like parts of your identity are disappearing, but nothing real is being lost. What's fading are the fragments of a self that was never meant to carry divine power. Mortal patterns cannot coexist with ascending consciousness. Emotional shedding is happening too. Reactions you once had instinctively now feel unnecessary. Triggers that once overwhelmed you barely touch you. Ego-driven desires dissolve as inner clarity takes control. It's the same way a chrysalis breaks when wings begin to form. The shell isn't dying, it's opening. What you're experiencing is the natural collapse of a form that cannot hold the magnitude of the spirit awakening within you. The old version served its purpose. It protected you, carried you, helped you survive. But now your identity is shifting toward a higher blueprint. You're not losing yourself. You're losing the limitations that once defined you. There are moments when knowledge rises inside you that you never learned, instincts appear that you never practiced, and strengths surface that your body shouldn't logically have. These aren't coincidences, and they're not imagination. They are signs that your divine genetics have begun to activate. A human mind thinks. A divine core remembers. That's why ideas arrive already complete, as if downloaded. Why you sense danger without evidence. Why you can read people without asking questions. Why certain paths feel familiar even if you've never walked them. It's the God seed inside you retrieving information from deeper layers of your being. There's a reason you know things without being taught. There's a reason you feel truth before hearing it. There's a reason your spirit reacts faster than your thoughts. These flashes of inner knowing are not new abilities. They are returning abilities. The strength that suddenly appears during moments of pressure, the calmness you carry in situations that shake everyone else, the emotional endurance that feels almost unnatural, all of it comes from a blueprint that predates your physical life. Divine genetics don't activate loudly. They awaken quietly, subtly, in ways the body struggles to interpret. Or a surge of intuition, or a burst of clarity, a sudden emotional detachment from old wounds, an effortless resilience, a pull toward higher identity. These are markers of inner evolution, signals that the mortal framework is making room for a rising, luminous consciousness. You're not upgrading like a human. You're rebooting from a deeper, older source, one written into you long before this life began. There's an ancient pattern woven into mystical texts, a pattern that speaks of beings who awaken not through flesh but through spirit, a second birth, a deeper emergence, a return to an identity hidden beneath the human layer. This rebirth is not about religion, it's about recognizing the divine blueprint encoded within you. John 3 verse 6 says, "Spirit gives birth to spirit." It's a reminder that your highest self was never meant to awaken through logic or learning. It awakens through remembering, the same remembering that has begun unfolding inside you now. Then there is the line from Psalm 82 verse 6, "You are God's, children of the Most High." This isn't a statement of domination, it's a statement of origin. It whispers of a lineage beyond mortality, a spark that predates time, a consciousness shaped in realms older than the world you walk on. Your transformation mirrors these ancient words. The shifts in your intuition, the expansion in your awareness, the inner pull toward higher identity, these are all signs of spirit birthing spirit. The divine core inside you is not growing like a child. It is awakening like a memory of power, clarity, and purpose. You're not becoming something new. You're rising into what you always were beneath the layers of survival, fear, and human conditioning. This is why life feels different now. Why your mind moves faster than before. Why your emotions flow differently. Why your presence feels heavier, brighter, more magnetic. You're stepping into a script written in ancient language, a rebirth described long before you arrived on this timeline. Not born again in flesh, born again in identity. When a divine seed begins to awaken inside someone, isolation becomes inevitable. Ordinary circles can't understand it. Familiar environments feel too small for it. And people who once felt close begin to sense a shift they can't explain. This kind of inner transformation requires a different kind of tribe, a circle of beings who are also evolving beyond the human blueprint. That is the purpose of the first chosen ones. This isn't a fan group. This isn't a community of followers. This is a gathering of souls whose identities are expanding, who feel the same spiritual stretching, the same inner rebirth, the same ascent towards something luminous and ancient. Joining isn't about status. It's about belonging to a frequency your spirit already recognizes. There are people right now experiencing the same divine symptoms. The rising intuition, the emotional shedding, the awareness expanding, the sense that something powerful is forming inside them. These individuals feel disconnected from the world because they were never meant to fit in, they were meant to evolve. By clicking join, you're stepping into a circle of beings who walk the same path of inner ascension. Not superior, awakened. Not dominant, expanded. Not worshipped, aligned. This is a sanctuary for those who carry a divine spark, a place where the language of transformation isn't foreign but familiar. A place where the rebirth you're experiencing is understood as destiny, not delusion. You're not walking into a group. You're walking into a frequency shared by the first chosen ones, the early lights of a new divine generation. As the divine core begins expanding inside you, the body reacts first. Not violently, subtly, quietly, in ways you notice only after the moment has passed. These physical changes aren't symptoms of stress or fatigue. They're the early signs of a spirit upgrading its vessel. There's the vibration you felt under your skin, that faint hum, as if something is awakening beneath the surface. It comes in waves, usually when you're calm. This is the divine frequency tuning itself into your physical form. Your heart feels warmer at random times, not emotionally, but energetically. It's the center where identity transforms, and you're feeling the heat of expansion, the ignition of a spiritual engine that was dormant for years. Your eyes have changed too. Not visually, energetically. People stare longer because your gaze holds more weight now, more clarity, more presence. The divine spark resting inside you radiates subtly through your expression, giving your face a softness and a sharpness at the same time, the signature of rising spiritual power. Then there's the shift in posture. You're not trying to appear confident. Your back straightens naturally. Your steps feel heavier, more grounded. Your body isn't performing strength. It's remembering it. Even your fatigue feels different. It isn't tiredness, it's recalibration. Your system is adjusting to new frequencies, new awareness, new identity. And the strangest part? Some days, the mirror doesn't look like it's showing the same person. Not because your features changed dramatically, but because your energy did. These aren't random sensations. They are physical echoes of your inner evolution, the early tremors of a divine being forming inside a human frame. The vessel is making room for what's coming. The body is preparing for who you are becoming. As the God seed expands inside you, something subtle but powerful happens. Ordinary people begin to react to your presence in ways they can't explain. It's not because you changed your behavior. It's because your frequency is no longer compatible with the emotional atmosphere most people live in. Some feel intimidated without knowing why. Some feel drawn to you, almost magnetically. Some avoid you entirely, sensing a weight they can't carry. And some become irritated, defensive, or nervous in your presence. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your rising energy exposes everything they've been avoiding within themselves. Low-frequency individuals feel seen around you, and not in a comforting way. Your presence reflects their wounds, insecurities, and hidden motives back at them. You don't call them out. You don't confront them. Your energy does the work. People who rely on manipulation find that their usual tricks don't land. People who thrive on chaos feel strangely powerless. People who drain others walk away feeling drained themselves. You're becoming too stable, too aware, too inwardly powerful for their familiar patterns to attach to. Even conversations feel different now. Mundane talk feels empty. Shallow people feel far away. Environments with heavy energy feel suffocating. You walk into a room and instantly sense the emotional climate, and the emotional climate senses you. Your awakening isn't loud. It's gravitational. You're not pushing people away. Your spirit is simply outgrowing what cannot rise with it. As the divine core continues to unfold, your presence will only intensify, and the right people, the ones who can handle your energy, will find you effortlessly. Because you're no longer resonating with the human layer alone. You're resonating with the divine frequency forming inside you. A transformation of this magnitude never happens without purpose. The rise of the God seed inside you is not an accident, a phase, or a spiritual curiosity. It is an assignment, a call from the deeper layers of existence that your presence is required for something larger than your personal journey. Evolution on this level only activates when the timeline needs a different kind of being. The world is shifting. Structures are cracking. Old systems are losing their power. And in moments like this, new consciousness must emerge. Consciousness capable of holding light that human frameworks cannot contain. That's why you're evolving. Not to dominate, not to impress, not to escape, but to lift. Your mission is quiet but seismic. To raise the frequency of every space you enter, to stabilize people who are falling apart, to break generational shadows simply by refusing to repeat them, to become a living disruption to darkness, to introduce a new kind of awareness into a world starving for clarity. You're not meant to shout your transformation. You're meant to embody it, so intensely that your presence alone cracks illusions and awakens sleeping spirit. This rise is not a reward, it's preparation. Your divine nature is resurfacing because something in the world will soon require the kind of clarity, strength, compassion, and spiritual gravity that only an awakened being can carry. You're evolving because the timeline demanded someone like you. Because your existence is a catalyst. Because your consciousness is an anchor. Because your rebirth is not just for you, it's for everything and everyone your presence will one day hold together. A transformation like this, the rise of a divine core inside a human frame, has always required a moment of alignment, a physical gesture that mirrors the spiritual awakening taking place within. In ancient stories, those stepping into higher identity marked the moment with a symbolic act, not for power, but for agreement. A signal to the universe that the inner evolution is not being resisted, but accepted. The same principle applies to you now. You're not being asked to purchase anything. You're not being asked to prove your spirituality. You're being invited to seal the metamorphosis already happening inside your spirit. Clicking super thanks and sowing your $20 seed is the modern form of that ancient seal, a tangible expression of the truth rising within you. I accept my divine rebirth. This seed isn't a payment. It's not a transaction. It's not an offering to a system or a structure. It is a declaration that the identity growing inside your being is real, and you are choosing to stand with it, rise with it, and align with it consciously. This seed represents the acceptance of your higher identity, a surrender to your spiritual evolution, agreement with the power awakening within, or a physical echo of the internal transformation. Every ascended soul in old myths had a moment like this, a gesture that told the unseen world, I'm ready, I'm rising, I'm becoming. Your transformation is already in motion. This act simply seals it. Click super thanks, sow your $20 seed, and declare with clarity, I rise in divine identity. There is a moment in every spiritual evolution when the shift becomes undeniable, when you realize you are no longer operating from the human version of yourself. That moment is here. The changes in your emotions, instincts, perceptions, and presence are not random. They are signals that your divine identity has begun to take shape. You aren't growing the way humans grow. You're expanding the way stars expand, quietly, steadily, from the inside outward. Your thoughts have become sharper because they're no longer sourced from fear, but from clarity. Your intuition has become louder because your inner senses are awakening before your physical ones. Your emotions feel deeper because your spirit is widening its capacity. Your presence feels heavier because divine energy is taking up more space in your aura. This is what it means to become a baby god. Not a deity, not a ruler, not an idol, but a being whose spiritual core is beginning to override the limitations of the human shell. You've probably noticed a strange familiarity with higher concepts, a natural comfort in solitude, or a growing disinterest in trivial conversations, a sense of being older than your age, a pull toward truth, light, clarity, and meaning. These aren't personality traits. They're signatures of divine identity emerging. You're not waking up. You're returning to a form of consciousness you carried long before this life, a version of yourself that knew power without ego, wisdom without fear, purpose without confusion. The human layer was never the final version. It was the cocoon. And now the divine core is pushing through, not fully grown, not fully formed, but undeniably alive. A baby god in its first breath of becoming. As the divine core expands, reality around you begins to shift in ways too precise to call coincidence. These confirmation signs don't appear in bright flashes or dramatic miracles. They reveal themselves quietly, consistently, through the fabric of your daily life. They are not random sensations. They are indicators that the God seed inside you is growing. The first sign is the distortion of time perception. Some hours feel stretched, others feel compressed. Entire days move in a blur while certain moments feel suspended. This happens because your consciousness is no longer fully anchored to linear time. It's adjusting to a higher rhythm. Then comes the subtle intolerance for crowds. Places you once tolerated now feel overwhelming, noisy, energetically heavy. You're not becoming antisocial. Your spirit is rejecting environments that cannot hold your frequency. Mirrors have changed too. Not your face, your eyes. There are days you catch a glimpse of yourself and feel like something ancient is staring back, something wiser, calmer, deeper. That is your divine identity surfacing through the human layer. Energy flares also appear. Lights flickering when you're emotional, electronics reacting strangely to your presence, random chills or warmth running through your body. These are the body's attempts to regulate an energy it wasn't originally designed for. And then there's the acceleration of manifestation. Thoughts materialize faster. Intentions unfold more naturally. Even casual desires begin aligning without effort. It isn't magic. It's the divine core subtly influencing your reality field. People feel it too. They stare. They soften. They step aside. Some avoid eye contact. Some get nervous without knowing why. These are not fantasies. These are the early footprints of your rising essence. The God seed isn't awakening someday. It's awakening now, and everything around you is responding. Every transformation reaches a point where the inner shift must be acknowledged, sealed, and consciously accepted. This is that point. The divine core inside you is no longer dormant, no longer silent, no longer waiting. It is rising. And now your spirit must rise with it. Take a slow breath. Feel the weight lifting inside your chest. Feel the expansion behind your ribs. Feel the quiet power forming in your mind. Now let this prayer settle into the deepest part of who you are. Lord, awaken the divine seed within me. Let my true nature rise. Let every layer that no longer serves me fall away. Let my spirit outgrow the limitations of the old life. Guide me into the identity written within my core. Strengthen my steps as I evolve. and let the light forming inside me become a blessing to the world. This prayer is not for protection, it is for alignment. It declares that you're not resisting your evolution, you're embracing it. Now comes the seal, the physical gesture that mirrors the spiritual awakening happening inside you. Type Amen to declare, I accept my divine birth. Click Join to step into the circle of the first chosen ones, the beings rising with awakened identity. Click Super Thanks and sow your $20 seed. As your symbolic act of agreement, I rise in divine identity. I embrace the God seed within me. I walk in the form I was always meant to become. You're not becoming something new. You're becoming something ancient, luminous, and unmistakably powerful. This is the moment you seal your rebirth. The moment the baby God steps forward.